what about Alexander Ovechkin? And I guess the question that I want to ask you really is, how would the sports world react, Will, if Alexander Ovechkin would pull a Kevin Durant type move, and let's say the Capitals captain would join forces with Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins? How would that go?
I mean, I think certainly there'd be a lot of, hot takes to be like, back in my day when we logged lumber uphill both ways in the snow, we would never do such things, which I don't think is necessarily true. I watched Karl Malone chase a ring for like 5 years with all these different teams, and Gary Payton did it, and Charles Barkley obviously did it, Clyde Drexler, like all these people did that back then. And I think that, hockey, I think certainly a different sometimes attitude about that. But that said, this is I think any kind of hot take argument that he shouldn't do that would be overwhelmed by the fact that, man, that would be really fun to watch. And I think that's generally the why people can complain about Durant and say, how could he do that? The Warriors are so much fun to watch. The ratings clearly show that. The idea of a Pittsburgh team, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but the idea of a Pittsburgh team with Crosby and with Ovechkin, like that's a traveling roadshow that everyone would want to see. The idea that that would somehow be bad for the league and would be silly. And listen, Ovechkin, it's not like he's played terribly. It's not like he's the reason Washington hasn't won one. At a certain level, I can understand. I think it's certainly pretty acceptable these days and becoming more and more. Understand someone making a decision. I could just sit here and be a martyr and lose with this team, or I could go get a championship and know. And like, what does Alex Ovechkin want? Does the end of his career, does he want people to say, man, he really stuck it out with that disappointing Washington team? Poor guy. Or does he want to say, there goes Stanley Cup champion Alex Ovechkin? I don't think anyone would. I think the unreasonable and the unnecessarily nostalgic to times that may not have actually existed, those type of people would be against him on it. But I think generally speaking, it's hard to argue a guy. We'd all do the same thing.
Oh,
Let the guy
absolutely.
go for a win. It's not like he signs with the team. They're just like, here you go. And they just give him one. You do actually have to go win one. And that's really hard.